Does it have $1 million vibe? Or...
With enough thrust, you can fly a brick.
Location, 1980 gallery.
In studio, podcast.
Hi guys, welcome back to Location 1980's Art Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Fortune, with my co-host, Eric Ringman.
Welcome back, everybody. And tonight, we have a very special guest, Mr. Ed Dutcher. And he is a screenwriter by trade and experience, a man of many words. He's leveraged the written word in many ways, knows a lot about the film business, but we'll get into all that in its due time. So, Ed, welcome.
Happy to be here, guys. Thank you for bringing me on board.
Yeah, thanks for braving the wave coming down the 405.
I once saw a Valentine's card that said, I would get on the 405 at 5 p.m. for you.
Damn.
That is probably the biggest romantic gesture you can make. You know?
Yeah, they sold it in a box with a ring. It was just the only way you could buy it.
Yeah, it's brutal, but hey, I made it. And
yeah, you're here now. It's just great to have you on the pod. So we were talking a little bit before we set action about you used to have a podcast, or you were a podcast host?
Yeah, well, I used to. I wasn't the host per se, but I would help produce it. I would help co-host it. I ran a culture site with a few of my friends in college for 5.5 years. We're about to celebrate our 10th anniversary this August, so I'm really excited about that.
Very nice.
It was called Merry-Go-Round. I keep saying in the past tense. It exists. I don't in that capacity. Merry-Go-Round magazine. We covered a lot of film, TV, video games, music, and we would often highlight mainly musical artists and have them on podcasts, and then we would throw on shows for them every time we had a
tiny
emerging, local.
Yeah.
What kind of? Okay.
So like a lot of local talent.
Local LA,
local greater SoCal area. We were all at Chapman University, so we knew a lot of people in OC as well. And yeah, it was just it was a fun time.
That's great, man. But so now you do mostly screenwriting?
Now I do mostly writing and screenwriting, particularly. I do a little bit of video game work on the side as well.
Is that storytelling?
Also writing? Or?
Also writing, yeah, but also gameplay design.
Sweet.
Which is a totally different way of writing than in film, because film, of course, is linear. You hit play, it goes to the end, it stops. But with a game, you have to keep in mind, like, players can do different things and maybe in different order. So,
but it is a storytelling element in itself. You played Dead Space, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how the controls in that game would sometimes feel a little bit clunky. And at first it was annoying, and then I got to realize, like, oh, that's part of the horror element of it, is you can't be, because, like, shit will be coming out and attacking you. It's kind of like Alien. It's like Event Horizon, the game. And so you can't be too quick on the trigger, the way you could have with Halo and stuff. And so that's what lent it kind of a special thing, is you had to maintain your calm in these horrifying situations.
We love Dead Space. It's funny you bring that, because we're actually working on a space survival horror game. So,
nice.
And we're using that as a big inspiration in terms of, like, the aesthetics and everything. And also just, like, stomping on dead dudes,
It was a beautiful game.
Yeah.
Could you give us an example of, like, what you would write, like, some of the opening sequences in games are just mind-blowing. My brother games much more than I do. I don't game at all, but when I'm in his house, he'll be like, watch this. And, like, the beginning of the game is, like, an epic little micro movie. Do you write that the same way you'd write, like, an intro to a story?
Well, it would depend on what kind of game you're doing, and if you're relying on a lot of cinematics, then definitely. Ours is, like, completely absent of that. We're trying to make the player figure out as they go what's going on, who they are, what's happening at the moment. So you wake up on the space station, like, the way we're writing it, to start is, like, you have all these, like, alien objects, like mushrooms and critters and plants and stuff. You don't know what they do, and you have to, like, experiment with them. Some of them are, like, poisonous, some of them help you, some of them can, like, lure creatures towards you or away from you. So
it's cool. It's like it's indigenous, but it's in space.
Yeah, you're like on a you're colonizing an asteroid.
Okay.
That's kind of the setup. But that is that's like one thing. I'm doing, but yeah, screenwriting is the main bread and butter. That's kind of what I love the most.
Did you go to school specifically for that?
I did go to film school. Very useful degree to have in the job market. Not really. But,
he says with a big smile for
I
all
say
our
with a big smile.
non-YouTube viewers.
I have a BFA as well, so I feel you.
But I learned a lot of craft, there in terms of like working on camera teams and, working as a grip and doing like a little bit of gaffing and electrical work. And that's what I did for years after school is like set work.
Okay, pro.
So I was like a second AC. I was a box truck driver, camera truck driver, so
For TV stuff, features,
for a lot of music videos and fashion shoots, honestly. And
it was faster production process, obviously.
Yeah, we would do a lot of like one-day shoots right down here in Costa Mesa. Actually, we would do. I guess you would call it an infomercial back in the day, but it's more of like e-commerce, like commercial content. It was like really bleak stuff, like selling string lights or
oh wow, riveting.
Shelving units for the Cheesecake Factory, that sort of stuff.
I didn't know they had such things. Wow,
they have a lot of them.
Did that really inspire you to write more?
Oh, I had to get out of that, right?
Yeah, right. How do I?
Yeah, kind of. That roundabout. The time I stopped doing that is when I started working in the game industry. That's where I started like getting into like working on my own games and stuff, because I was doing publishing work where I was looking at Japanese video games and making sure all the translated text was like correct in English. I don't speak Japanese at all, but
yeah, I was going to ask, how do you land that gig? Now I really want to know how you land that gig without speaking Japanese.
A writing test is all you need to do. It's like, it's high school shit. But that was also kind of bleak work, but it was a bit more stable than the uncertain bleak work that I was doing.
So when you got out of school, you went from being a grip and all these different side quest jobs. And then what was the first job you got where you're like, this is why I want to write? Where you like the lights clicked on or the right place, right time?
Well, I think I've always wanted to write. And I had that, crisis of confidence after graduation where, you have this playground for 4 years where you can kind of just do whatever you want on student films and, play around. And then you realize no one actually pays you to do that, like right out of school. And it's like, well, shit, what am I going to do now? Like I have to have a more industrial commercial application for this. So I was doing like a lot of copywriting on the side and set work on the side. And, I had like 3 gigs at once. And that's how I was like making it meet. But making it to this publisher, I was working at Square Enix for like 3 years, which is big Japanese publisher. They do like Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts. Those are like what I was working on. I don't really particularly care for JRPGs that much as a gamer, but it was like a dense subject, matter to work with.
For a non-gaming audience, JRPG.
Oh, yeah. So like a Japanese role-playing game, which is distinguished like from something like a Western role-playing game like Skyrim or...
Okay.
Look at me, big gamer. I'm blanking on other RPGs right now. But,
I
Dungeons and Dragons, that sort of stuff.
So,
but it's not your favorite kind, but you were working and you felt like it was...
But it was like good workout because it's really thick lore.
Yeah. And, like specifically I was working with like a lot of Disney IP stuff because that's like one of their big series is Kingdom Hearts or like... You're playing like these kind of anime characters, but you go into like your buddies are like Donald Duck and Goofy, and you're going into like a Pirates of the Caribbean world. You're going to a Big Hero 6 world, the Nightmare Before Christmas world, and you have to like make sure not only is like all the spelling and grammar correct, but are the conventions that Disney has laid out on their own specific rubric being honored? Like is Goofy's Gorsh, being spelled correctly in the captions,
Wow.
Gosh.
And there would be like discrepancies, and you're like, no, that's more of a gosh, so we gotta
tighten that
yuck it up.
brief sidebar. When I was in, you'd appreciate this as a writer. I was in college first year in 1993, Lindenwood University, and they had a arcade, small, like 3 games, but one of them was Street Fighter 2, and I kept calling Balrog. My roommate, his name's John Williams, is a super country dude, and he goes, "What? It says right here Barlog," and I was like, "Why do you keep saying Barlog when they literally spelt it wrong?" It said Barlog on the physical game. And so,
on the cabinet.
Yeah, so somebody messed up that Barlog. So it never left me, but I understand those little things can make a big difference.
Well, with clients like Disney and stuff, like they get
come
like
at you.
really fucking like bloodthirsty with like their IP. So yeah, they were very adamant that we got that right and everything.
Second sidebar. Speaking of Disney, I gotta know because we got a writer in the room. What do you think about the what just came out? Is it Snow White?
Snow White.
It's just like blood trails on the internet.
I'm exposed to way more of the discourse on this than I wish I was.
So it's happening. There's things being said.
I'm a big, I will say one of the benefits of like working on this game that, I had to play it like 20 times and I didn't necessarily enjoy it like after the second time, but, but like that's the job, but it like exposed me to a lot of like Disney properties that like I had never seen Frozen before I like played this game. There's like a whole Frozen world, and so I have to go home and watch Frozen so I know what the hell they're talking about. And like it was just like right when we started this project, it was not too long before like COVID really outbroke, and I like watched Tangled, and I'm like, oh, like that's me right now. I'm like doing all this like bullshit in this like tower, and I went down like a big like Pixar and Disney rabbit hole after that. And then I kind of, then it wasn't the job anymore and I fell out of it. And now, everyone's reshooting it live action. And I guess that's good for creating jobs for people and stuff. But, dude, I don't care. Like, people are acting like so sanctimonious about like the source material of like the folk tale of Snow White. And it's like, you only know this because of a Disney movie. So like, what do I care what Disney does with their own property? I'm not going to watch it. I'm not really the core demographic for it, let them fuck it up.
Well, and a new,
yes.
let them fuck it up. But also like a new thing comes out that doesn't ruin what's already there. Like that doesn't make, what was it, 1937? That doesn't make original Snow White any less cool.
Exactly.
With the 7 little Oscars.
It's, anytime anyone gets angry about a reboot or a remix or dragging like a old series out of like the closet or whatever, I'm like, whatever, like this doesn't spoil your enjoyment of the previous thing just because like some company owns the rights to it and they're doing something very lame with it, doesn't discount what like very talented people did on the past.
On that note though, it seems like a trend in Hollywood to just basically almost only do that. So you're trying to get your script or your idea out there, and meanwhile we got to watch Indiana Jones 118 and it's horrible. So then it's like, not only do I not want to watch it because I like the old Indiana Jones, but I get mad as an artist. I would love to support niche writers that haven't had a chance, but
you're squeezing out resources that could have gone to a creative team doing something totally new. So that's a super valid argument.
That's
you're
super
in the
real.
game, so tell us a little bit of how you feel about that as a writer.
So it's definitely true. Like, I don't want to make blanket statements, but people are adverse to new IP because, these are like huge projects and they want to make sure they have like a dedicated, already established, viewer base for this. So it is true. Like, I have this agent and I've got like, 5 projects in the fire right now. And, some like really original stuff I'm really passionate about. The most, realistic stuff, like the stuff that has the most promise is stuff based off existing IP, that I just wrote on Spec, and like, they're like, oh, we know the, owners of this. So like, we're going to like set up, meeting with you guys and everything and see if there is like.
Does that make it feel genuine? Like, cause of your starting point?
It's genuine in that like I wrote something that I liked, or based off something that I liked. But, it is frustrating because it's like I put a lot more work into creating like my own world of story for my own like original project, and I would love to see that get picked up. And the way I see it, it's like, let me just get my foot in the door first. I don't really care what it's for, and we'll see what happens from there. I've shot like a few shorts, and like those are fun and nice, and I love working on set and everything. But in terms of like, landing like, a deal, which we're all working for, in the industry, and it's really like the worst time possible to be trying to make a show right now. It's just unfortunate. That's when I started like really getting momentum in this
Here
field.
I come.
Yeah.
Watch out, y'all.
But yeah, it's definitely a real issue with how much is on the line with stakeholders in this industry, that like you need to make sure it's a success. So like it's a very risk adverse.
So it's a business that directly conflicts with true imagination and creativity, because it's
so resource intensive.
It's so weird that they can't exist when, like, if you nourished one of them, you would definitely give yourself the best chance to make the most money. I mean, like all the retreads, they weren't retreaded for something else, or maybe they were. Like a lot of the old stories are something that was from an old novel.
Yeah, it's a repeat of Greek mythology or something.
Yeah, the oldest story was Adam and Eve.
There are no new stories, so like to call something like original or hack or whatever. I mean, based off your own lane and like the media you've engaged with, the art you've consumed, maybe this is old hat, but for someone else it might be new. Like I love Quentin Tarantino, and he makes like really great original movies, but they're all like based off, well, not all, but like they're very much like lifted influence wise from
the collage almost.
From sources that your typical American audience isn't going to be aware of, like whether it's Hong Kong directors or like Italian directors. Yeah. And that's great because he's putting his own authorial stamp on something that's not really been tackled in this market, and it exposes me to something I probably wouldn't have watched otherwise. So,
and it's undeniable. It's his craft. It's his style.
Yeah, but again, like I only got into Sergio Leone because of Quentin Tarantino, and I'm happier for it because they are both very good at what they do.
So, finish that up. Sorry.
And I guess just the last thing I wanted to say is, on the note of like compromise and everything, I think even on the most like original and like clear authorial visions, or what we would call a clear authorial vision, because there are no new ideas, and everything, but they're all a product of compromise anyway. And so it's just like, what is the flavor of the compromise? And that's like a pill that I learned to swallow very quickly, when I was just starting out. So like as a screenwriter, I'm there with the project from the beginning, like from like in my head, and it is very different once it gets to like the final cut and everything. And you just got to make peace with that. Like, actors might go a different direction with a line. Things might not work out with your schedule. You might have to like cut a scene, or because the sound was fucked up, or because you didn't have time to shoot it.
And that was your favorite one, like when you're writing it. You're like,
yeah. So
have you get the devil, like in like you said, you made several shorts, so you get to like write and direct.
Yeah,
be
so
creative.
I've been holding back from directing entirely because mostly just confidence thing. It's like, well, let me like work with directors I like and have them direct it. But I will, they'll call it script supervise. So I'm there making sure like our lines are correct, and actors are following the plot and not just like the emotional beat of the scene that they're in right now, but keeping in mind the greater context of something maybe we haven't shot yet, but that takes place previously. So
that's a cool title. It's one of those ones when the credits are rolling and it says, what'd you call it? Screenwriter,
script supervisor.
The script supervisor. So it just flies by.
But they're fairly high up, and they're usually sitting right in Video Village or like right near.
Yeah, so I'm
pretty main people, right?
I say I help direct, but I'm actually getting ready to actually direct my first short,
Sweet.
Entirely on my own right now. So that's exciting for me.
That's great, man. So
I'll touch that.
Yeah, did you develop that script, or is it like...
Yeah.
Sometimes it might be ironic that your first time to direct is like your buddy's script or someone you collaborated with.
Yeah, this one, I have a writing buddy that I do a lot with. We created 2 of these like big pilots that we're really trying to sell right now together. Sweet. And we're each now directing our own short, and we're helping each other on it, but we're like letting each other kind of take the driver's seat when it gets to the actual shooting tape. But we're helping each other's scripts out.
Fun holes.
Yeah. And like assembling cast, doing table reads, we're doing a lot of grant applications right now. So, and
that sounds like a lot of what I would assume is more of a producer role, like getting all those different parts, organizing them, even on this ultra pre-production end of the process, organizing all that. I mean, would that be under the purview of a producer? What would that be called?
Yeah,
so, I mean, that's hard shit to do.
And I produce these too. I tend to be a bit more reserved and quiet. And you, as a producer, you have to be more gregarious and seize the initiative and things. So it's actually helped me kind of come out of my shell since I started doing this. I used to be like a very quiet,
shy guy. Want to make it happen, make it happen.
And I am an introvert by nature, but it's been very invigorating to like pitch an idea to someone or enroll someone in my vision and have them be like, fuck yes, let's do it. And like you're shooting it and people are laughing, and that's like a good sign.
That's sweet. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, it's not even an edited version. You're just on set and like crew is laughing. Mm-hmm. That's got to be great.
Yeah, so that's I love it. It's such a great. You get people from all these different crafts coming together and working on something together, and you don't really see that like to that scale in my experience anywhere else. I would love at one point to work on like an opera or something, even though there's not really a role for a writer in that field, because like you said, all the stories have been told, and that's a
composer.
That is, very. But like I really admire the stagecraft in all of it.
Yeah,
I was reading a book recently that kind of described all of the roles that go into a production like this, and this is like a frontier I've never really cracked into before. And now suddenly I'm super curious about it.
You dropped the title of that book.
Oh, it was called The Vampire Tapestry, and it's not about opera at all. It's about this vampire, and he feeds for the first time in centuries at an opera because he what do they watch? He's watching Tosca, and he gets really turned on by Tosca, and he's like, I'm going to go eat one of the understudies, on a smoke break. And it takes place at a real this is like a novel from the 80s. It takes place in a real the Santa Fe Opera House, and I looked this place up, and it's an outdoor theater, and it's so cool, and I just want to go there and watch an opera there.
And that's not Santa Fe here. That's Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Santa Fe, New Mexico. Yes, yeah.
Where's Santa Fe here?
I must be thinking of Rancho Santa Fe.
Oh, okay.
It's like by Anaheim.
Oh yes, yeah. My friend, actually the guy that I shot those infomercials with, lives there.
Have you written any books that are just strictly novel? No aspiration for...
I don't have the attention span, but I really admire people who do. I'm a big reader, and
what's some of your favorite genres?
Sci-fi is my favorite in terms of novels. I love that. I also just like reading dry historical stuff. I just started Teddy Roosevelt's biography,
nice.
autobiography about the Rough Riders.
Dude's a stud.
The dude's just talking for 30 pages about all his dudes in the Rough Riders. And yeah, this is Pistol Pete, on account that he's really good with the pistol, and this is
makes sense.
Bronco Bill. He's the biggest Bronco buster, and he just is going on and on and on about all these guys, and I don't even want him to stop. I don't even want to get to Cuba. I just want to talk about all the Rough Riders. I'm hooked.
Oh, sweet. So, do you have when you're describing these shorts that you're working on, your buddy's helping you, you're helping him. When you say short, tell the audience exactly what that means.
Oh, exactly. So a short film is anything from 5 to honestly 30 minutes. You try to take.
Because I think technically it's anything that's less than 2 reels, right? Which are about 20 minutes each.
You know, that's an interesting way of thinking about.
That way you never have to reload. You just do it once, run it, and.
That's a very analog way that I've never had to deal with, but because we shoot digital, baby. Yeah.
So 5 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, so I've shot like 10 and like 20-minute things before. I'm trying to get something sub 10 with my first thing. I'm aiming for like an 8-minute short.
And where would,
current project.
like, let's say it goes really well, which I hope it does, where would be like the best case scenario? Would that be like a film festival?
Film festival would be the best place to put something like that. But
there's a whole category, best short.
Yeah, there's also like, you know, like Vimeo would be like a great place to like drop one of those as well, and that's like our kind of like other avenue of approach that we're going with this.
Because you're going to put it up no matter what.
We're going to put it up no matter what, and the idea is to. Hey, it's all like 3D chess is the way we're doing it. Like I said, like the IP adaptation to get your foot in the door to pitch your original concept, the short to show that you can direct so you can like be trusted with the responsibility of taking your own original project out there.
To garner the support.
Yeah, it's like you have to check all these different boxes, and sometimes it feels like a catch-22 situation, but you know, it's great because it keeps me on my toes. It keeps me like, I don't just have all my eggs in one basket. I'm working on all these different things.
So it seems like that's what it takes. For myself and for the other artists, a lot of our audience are not just fans of art and fans of the creative, but they're also, I'd say,
creators themselves.
Yeah, most of our audience is other creatives. Give us like maybe a 10 or 20 step, like dumbed down, abridged version of like, you write this good story. How does it go all the way to the end?
Right, yeah. So
because I think a lot of people just take it for granted. It's like, oh, it was cool, I watched it or whatever, and you're like, oh, great. But then like, just from the first time you write the first letter, it seems like
it's a long process.
And just your personal career so far, you've described like 19 jobs already. I'm just like blown away. So it'd be nice to, like, before we go further, just to kind of like see the spectrum of.
Well, I'm about to wrap this project right now that you could trace the genesis of it back to winter 2021, which you know, this was I was at this mushroom journey that was being put on in Hollywood, and you know, I'd been to a few of these, and some of them were, you know, very like good and insightful, and it like helped me gain some clarity on like, hey, I need to like move into my own apartment. I need to like quit like fucking around like with part-time gigs and get a real job, you know, like that sort of stuff. This one was a bit more, well, it was a lot more sketch. Like the guy running it, like, I'm not going to like dox anyone here, but we'll call him like Guru Dave, you know?
We've all met one.
Guru Dave came up to me while I'm like tripping balls, and he's like, yeah, you know, I never like collected your payment for this. So can you like, can you Venmo me $500 right now? And I'm like, but I gave you my phone, which by the way, he didn't do this to anyone else at the journey. He just like, guy I just met just like, I can tell that you're like chained to this device, which ironically is very true now, but wasn't so much the case back then. So he like confiscated this from me, but then he needs to pay himself, and he's like, what's your password? Okay, your Venmo password. Okay, what's your credit card number? And
while you're in
and I'm like so paranoid because like he was doing star readings earlier, and you know, asking like what my birth date was, and like,
oh shit,
and I'm like, is he going to ask like my mother's maiden name? And
super sketch.
And like, is this guy like trying to like scam people like while they're on trips? And my buddy and I got this idea there, like, what if we made a show about a, you know, healer who is like a med school dropout who comes to LA and like puts on journeys and gets people high and then just like rips them off, you know, and calls it like a a material unloading, you know, and some woo-woo bullshit to justify their scheme. And that's where we got this idea for this short that we're pitching as a show called Manifesting. And that was like November 21. We wrote a pilot over like the next month. And
so the pilot is like how many pages?
So for this, it was a comedy, so it was half an hour, so it was 30 pages. You try to do a minute per page. Some pages are more like dialogue heavy than others. Ours was very dialogue heavy, so it had a very like snappy pace. We assembled a cast. We got a WeWork and basically told all of our actors and everyone we knew, like, hey, do you know anyone who's like loaded and wants to like burn a bunch of money on like a film? Invite them over. And we just ran through the script. We like rehearsed it like maybe twice before this thing, and people were laughing so much in this room. And like out of that meeting alone, we got our executive producer and we got like our primary investor on the project. So we were already like on a very like hot momentum with that thing. And so from there, it's like it's all incremental. It snowballs. So the fact that we had a producer and an investor made like our next two investors like a lot easier to convince. We didn't have to do any more table reads at that point. And over the next like year, we like assembled not even a year, like 8 months, we assembled like, you know, a crew. We got a director on board. We settled on a location that we were going to shoot this at. I had to rewrite the fucking thing like 30 times because we had to like scale down, you know, the scope of the thing to match the budget that we were assembling. I had the main character driving a Tesla off Santa Monica Pier at the end of the pilot. I'm like, well, we're not going to do that, you know? Yeah. So
rent the pier and drive a Honda. Got it.
Just don't ask, you know. Yeah. But we that was a big iterative process.
The process, it seems like I'm assuming getting the investors on board is probably like one of the bigger hurdles to cross.
Hey, you need chips to play at the table.
So then once you do that and you rewrote your script 30 times and you got your actors, now did you shoot it then?
Yeah, we shot it. So at that point, there were like, there's always like snags, and this was my first time like fully producing like a project. And
so you're still in the producer chair, organizing.
I'm
all
producing.
The
I'm
dates,
writing.
The locations.
Yeah, I'm taking like all these like conference calls and like meeting with the investors. They want to meet me. They want to meet the EP, the executive producer. They sometimes want to meet the talent, and it depends on how scrutinous they are. And once like they're like, okay, this checks out, they're like, all right, here's a check, let's go and do this. And we,
from November 2021
to basically like November, December 22, what was that whole process. And then early 2023 we shot this thing, and it was a 4-day shoot. We had 2 locations, which was like, pretty condensed from what I originally wrote. But like, it was like great, like that was like one of the happiest moments of my life. It was like, I've been on a lot of sets, but this was like my set.
Yeah.
So dope.
And it was so cool, like working with all the actors. I was in the video village. We kind of had a triumvirate, me, my writing partner, and the director we brought on board to work with. We were all like, planning our next shots and everything. And it was so exciting. We got like 2 cameras, which is a pretty big deal for a production on the scale that we had. We pulled like a lot of favors on this thing. We had like artists like put together a big plot element was there was a big like African fertility statue with like a big fucking boner in like the lobby of this house, and like this guy has to like stop people from playing with the statue, and we had like an artist make that out of paper mache. It's in my living room right now.
Yes.
And like I'm just like really happy about that. But it looked sick, and we shot that, and like 5 days later, SAG and the writers went on strike. I think SAG went on strike first, and then the writers. But it was right on the same time.
Killer.
Yeah. So that basically.
Thank God it happened after photography. Right?
Yeah. No kidding. And none of us knew it was happening, but it was funny because I was also like triple dutying as a background extra on this thing, just like put more bodies. We're in like a kind of a party scene, so I'm sitting with all the background extras, and like the SAG rep comes up and is like, hey, how many guys are like SAG? And it's like, okay, we'll just, make sure like, if this like goes over schedule or something, like we gotta like grab it. And that's kind of where my like antennas kind of perked up a little, but
who the fuck's this guy?
Anyway, that did kill us, like dead in the water for like a year.
But you were wrapped though.
Yeah, we were wrapped.
Okay.
We were wrapped. Because like my cast and my crew like are all like in the guild and everything. Like we, they weren't like allowed to like really promote or touch it. Like we could do some minor editing on it, but we only kind of resumed in earnest after the strike. And it was very kind of a gray area because they would let you work on productions that were already like started by the time that happened, but we didn't want to
get sued. Yeah,
like be in any area.
Yeah, you're already out on such a limb of thin ice that you're like, I don't want to fuck around.
And it was like my first like kind of stab at this and everything, so I just wanted to play it safe.
And how long did it last? The strike or break?
Too long.
Was it a year?
It felt like a year. God,
it was like 4 months or something.
It was so long, and it impacted me a lot because all these like writers in Hollywood, they're also doing what I do on the side, like copywriting and like doing like blogging work and stuff. So it really impacted that market as well. So it was like those were like really lean times for everyone. And look, there were, I support the strike. I think it was like a good call. There need to be protections against AI first drafts. That was like a big stipulation, is studios wanted to have ChatGPT whip up a first draft of a screenplay, and then they wouldn't have to like really credit a writer. They just have them come on and clean it up, which is what I was doing for Disney games.
Which there's a different official title for, I'm sure.
Yeah, and a different paycheck for.
Yeah, and that's what the title goes with. Yeah.
So they struck. You supported the strike.
Yeah, in a sense, I'm not a member of the Writers Guild, but hopefully, soon. But
what do they gotta do? Like beat you in or something?
They got to initiate you. Yeah, they have to kick the shit out of you in some parking lot.
Yes.
No, you just have to sell something. Is the
criteria,
the qualifier. So I'm not quite there yet. I've made things. Now next step is selling them.
We got 5.
I relate to that.
Yeah, we got 5 on it. Yeah.
So, that was, a whole kerfuffle. And then we were in post editing, doing like sound and coloring and all of that, making sure that the picture looked nice and everything. And we had some sponsor deals that we had to reshoot content for. We had like a few food brands and drinks that we had to that we were place in the party for like funding on the project. And I had to re-record some lines in the studio and say hey, I love this pizza cupcake,
Yeah, I wish I had a Zima.
Stuff like that.
If it can be, if it's too long of a story, don't go too deep into it. But acquiring those, how was that process like?
Oh, it was so piecemeal. It came in so many ways. The one that I helped land was, there's this kratom drink that I was addicted to while we were writing this called Feel Free. It's just kava root and kratom, and it tastes awful, but it makes you so jagged up and saying yes to the world. And when you're writing, that's a good thing to have, because the tendency is oh, this sucks, I'm gonna go back and rewrite this, and it helps to actually just get things down on pages and then move forward, to get that momentum going, especially when you're rewriting.
Well, as Ernest Hemingway famously said, write blitzed on kratom and edit sober.
Yeah, that's my mantra, actually, but I'm happy to give it to him. We worked at this cafe next to the place that manufactured this drink, and we like see their like truck go all the time. And one time we just like struck up conversation with them, like, "Hey, like we really fucking love your drink. How would you like to have it featured in our short? Like we will literally make it a plot point. We'll make like our character trying to hawk it off on the side, and they're like, yeah, dope. You're like, here's some money, and they gave us like 3 crates of the drink to put out, and I say this all love. I love Feel Free to this day. I'm not addicted to it anymore, but it got too expensive at $9 a shot. But people would like take a sip and they would like leave it on the table, and then
you gotta clean a house.
It's like a 5-hour energy. You just like gingerly go back.
I'd be like, you know what? Good enough. Bam. And so everyone was kind of jagged up on set from that. I don't know how some of our other sponsors came into play. That was like my executive producer pulling that together. But yeah, honoring those deals in the post to make sure that we were like fulfilling the contract with them, so they don't try to get their money back.
Sure.
And yeah, basically we kind of just wrapped sound and we're figuring out how to premiere this fucking thing.
Is that where it sits now?
Yeah. We are looking at theaters in West LA. And this is like, the most recent development on
it. It's exciting.
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for
long time in coming.
Yeah. Excellent, dude. Excellent. Yeah, I'll touch that.
Had good luck with that. It's just a great feeling where you're like, all right, well, you did all the steps, and there's kind of unprecedented hurdles. There's the normal hurdles, but then the writers, COVID. It's like born out of COVID, jumping over the writer's strike.
Yeah,
and then you're just like, I'm still here. I still got it.
We shot like right at the tail end of like, we didn't have a masked set, but like a few months before that, it was still like common practice. Everyone had to wear like masks and face shields on set and everything. So I'm glad we didn't have to do that.
It might not have finished.
It might have like made us cut more things to accommodate that.
So what's the like you're looking for a place to premiere, but then what would be like the best case scenario? Like when's film season or like Cannes and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, so ideally we would pitch it out, to studios and stuff. This is not the route that people typically go, and you typically don't shoot a pilot to premiere it. But I think me personally, I was just bored coming out of COVID, and I wanted to do something. But
I love this response.
It's like, let's go.
Let's make a pilot.
I'm just like, fuck, it's been too long since I've been on set. But yeah, the idea is, festivals, great, pitch it out, sure. Frankly, the biggest utility of this was to get me the momentum to pitch another show. So while this is all great and like kind of wrapped now, I've been spending the last 2 years now with the same writing partner developing like a hour-long sci-fi concept. And we got a lot of goodwill from this. We had a lot of people from the cast and production come on board for this as well. And it's about AI, so it's like really in the zeitgeist, and people are really interested in this. We put on this like Comic-Con level presentation of it in the studio with like 3 of these like black tables with like mics and name cards and everything. We had scene backgrounds for the scenes we were playing, like projected on the screen behind us. And
so you guys stepped your presentation game up.
Yeah, so what I've learned is it's just like they teach you in like film school, like there's a way to go, like that everyone has to like earn like their right to get a pitch, through like submitting to the studio system. And look, my roommate of like 3 years was a reader for Netflix and Lionsgate, and he's just reading so much shit every day, and he's just like saying no. And it's like, you'll never get in like that. Well, I shouldn't say you'll never get in, but it's so brutal. It's so brutal and impersonal. But if you kind of take these side routes, which is what me and my team have kind of been figuring out how to do, it's like you can really just appeal to people on like a personal level. And that's how we like got our producers and our I'm in the process of getting representation, through this, so it's like
Next step.
like it's cool. Like I'm definitely not like the mayor of Movie Town by any means. I'm just like I'm getting my start like everyone else here, but it's exciting. And I mean, fuck, I just like making movies and making TV because it's, I like TV a bit more than movies.
So you took us through the whole process. What would be the end result, like party in some Hollywood Hills, like everybody's applauding?
Yeah.
Have you been?
Do you want to show it at festivals? Do you want to have it garner you and your creative gang more of a name?
You know what I wanted to do? I wanted to create more opportunities like this for me and my friends, in the industry. I want to create that. I think that's what everyone is trying to do when they do this, is like, you're creating work. You're creating jobs for 100 people.
Nice.
And I remember when that was my bread and butter. It's just like, when's a new gig coming? When's a new gig coming? Like, who's shooting a music video or whatever? And like, I'm the guy creating that music video for some second AC like me, or some box truck driver like me, to have some work for like a while.
Yeah, carving the path through the red tape and rhetoric, and that's cool. It sounds fresh, like you said. You took some side steps. You proved your more traditional route, doing all the side gigs, but then now, like, because it was born out of these extra special circumstances, you found a way to like kind of pivot a little bit and be like,
yeah,
this is our way of figuring it out.
So yeah, that it's, I don't think there is a wrong way to do. Well, there's plenty of wrong ways to do it. Let me be clear, but there is no like one right way to do it, is what I'll say.
Well, your story, both what you just said right there, and then a couple minutes ago, comparing what you said, the university's not procured, given method of do this linear thing, and speaking against that, it really validates everything that I've heard from every single probably dozens personally, and just like hundreds that I've read about, who's made it in any element of a high level craft that's the thing they wanted to do within Hollywood. None of them have two of them the same story.
Yeah,
every single one of them found their own way up that mountain.
Well, they say it's who you know, or who you blow, in this town, and like it is like this has all come through like really cool people that I've like met and worked with. I've made like some really great like collaborative relationships out of these projects, and you kind of build a posse of people that's like, yeah, these are like my like pinch hitters, like this is who I want to work with, and that's who you keep coming back to, and
you got to give yourself credit there also for up until that point when that collaborative instance may have occurred, doing everything it took to be the guy to either ask for or say yes to that opportunity and make that happen.
Yeah, I've definitely had a big part to play in it, but I have a team at my back, and I think that's kind of the reason that we've been able to build momentum in ways. A lot of screenwriters, it's like you're just like, someone with a script, but when suddenly like, you're a lot more legitimate when you're like two people with a script, and then you're a lot more legitimate when you're like two people with a script and like several producers at your side, and then like you got a crew and you've got like sponsorship deals and everything. It's like, wow, suddenly this seems like a real package that I'm confident in.
It gives you confidence to pitch the next one. Not unsimilar to what we're doing here visually, because like I could have been just an artist by myself in the warehouse making art, which I was at many points in my early career. But then when we started stacking other artists and better artists and more artists, and we became like this intangible community. I know exactly what you're saying. It's like, if you say something, you're not just speaking for yourself, but the whole team that carries weight. And then it's also like this inertia. You're like, You know, it feels good to have wind in the sails from within, from helping other people. You know, it's like true power. The more people you can help, that's the more powerful you are. You know, especially in the industry that just can't wait to cut your head off. You know, wasn't my idea. You're dead. You know, like, and also it's weird that gatekeeping is something we haven't talked about, but I think that in art in general, but especially I guess Hollywood, there's like these walls you can run up against. It happens in visual arts too. Like you get up to a certain point where you can't pay your way in. You could be phenomenally talented, and you would say, oh, if you're that good, you would get recognized and it would happen. But it's simply not true. These artists have been making remarkable work for 90 years, and they just didn't want to play the game. They never got in a gallery, and they made it just from the heart. But also, even if they wanted to, maybe not, because they didn't find the agent or the studio or the right gallery. And it's weird in the creative world how it's usually not a creative person that is the gatekeeper.
Yeah, it is, and it comes back to like a lot of it is relationship based in that, and like, hey, I mean, we're all guilty. I'm guilty of it too. It's like someone's accolades are like less important to me than like, can I work with this person? Because you can work with someone who's like, they've got credits to their name and like they know what they're talking about, but like they won't like get out of the way when it's like time for you to like really like put the pedal to the metal. Like they need like their stamp on it, and like it needs to change like in a way that they're happy with. And it's like, hey, like let's
work together
and not like get caught in the weeds on like, oh, like this joke needs to like get tweaked or something. So or like you want like your little bit in there as well. It's like you're getting a credit, man. Like you're on board. Like
it boils down to ego, which I hear keeps bouncing around, ping ponging in the art world.
Yeah, well, ego is definitely a big thing. And hey, like that was the thing I struggled with for a while too. But eventually, the need to just make anything kind of won out over the need to make specifically something.
Yeah, you're like, do you really want to do it?
Yeah, but hey, I've been able to make stuff that is like what I actually want to do now, since I like put in the required like shit groveling to just make something. So
good on you, bro.
That's kind of like
sweet. Like
you want to go into halftime with that, or you want to roll?
Yeah, we'll go into halftime. We're coming back with, to your point, we have an AI helper, Big Cypher we call him, and he dialed up some trivia questions for you. Oh, so when we come back from the halftime, we'll hit you with that.
Yeah, play some little interactive games.
Yeah, and let the audience like kind of see where your creative process is on the spot.
Uh-oh. I'm a writer, not a performer.
Welcome back. Second half with Ed. Thanks so much for kicking it with us. We're talking about AI and some of your new ideas. What's your experience with using AI, like screenwriters? You mentioned it during the strike.
Oh God!
But instead of
or in any way, really.
Yeah. So
personally,
my first work writing as a writer, working with AI was at my last video game gig. I was working. This was like maybe the coolest thing I did in the game industry. I was the narrative director at a indie game studio. And we were working on this really cool, like massively multiplayer online role-playing game set in this like kind of like cyberpunk universe where you manage like a team of mercenaries and you go into this like kind of like quarantined city to like recover tech from this like the AI administrator of the city that's like gone rogue and like is like constantly raising and rebuilding the place.
T1000.
Yeah, and we were using, incidentally, a lot of AI technology for image and text generation for this. And this was back when NFTs were like a big thing, and this was like a Web3 based game. And
A what?
Web3, I can't even explain what Web3 is.
It's the blockchain.
No, NFT.
Yeah, NFTs though. The idea to monetize this game was, instead of doing microtransactions, which were very popular in video games, where you just charge $1 here, $2 there for like
Get a cape.
cosmetics, a cape or like whatever. It's like these would be NFTs, and you would buy and trade them and sell them. That idea didn't.
So I buy that cape,
Yeah.
and 2 hours later I can put it on.
Exactly, yeah. And it would like appreciate in value, and that would like, depend on. And so all of the art assets, we had like a proprietary image generator that was going to like generate these, and the
An
artist
in-house one at that company.
So we actually partnered with an AI company like right after I came on, and that became part of the package, And the artists were getting worried. They're like, well, is this going to take our jobs? I'm like, no. We still need you to teach it the visual language. So
And
that
then it'll take a job.
Exactly.
Teach it how to fire you.
And then they came up with a text generator one. They're like, Ed, we need you to teach it to speak in these 6 distinct character voices, and I'm like, sure, no problem, right? And then
Did you have a similar trepidation?
I didn't know what to think. I believed that it would be able to do dialogue, but not like quest design or lore writing, which is what I was like chiefly doing. So I wasn't too worried at that point. But the issue is that the AI tool was so promising that they were like, well, fuck, why are we making a game? Let's just make like AI tools. So the game got scrapped, and all the creative got, laid off. And now the company makes, they sell AI, they call it skybox. So anytime you look at a sky in a video game, they're not actually rendering it. It's like, it's a flat plane that you're on with like geometry, and then it's kind of like a wrap around this globe. It's kind of like if you had like wallpaper, basically. And the wallpaper can be fancy, and it can look like there's like 3D objects in it, but it's all bullshit. The company now makes AI generated skyboxes, and they sell those to developers. And I'm like, damn, that sucked. I really liked working on that. But hey, idea, let me channel my frustration about my job being stolen by AI into making a show about AI, where it's a future in 20 years where we have like a 40% unemployment rate because AI is doing everything. So that's...
So you're a big fan.
So I'm not super big critic. I'm also, by the way, like a big like transhumanist. I think we're all going to be on the cloud eventually, and probably sooner than later.
I mean, yeah, we kind of already are, right?
You're talking the next level.
We're already
the
living on our
cyberpunk is
devices.
only the beginning.
We're basically cyborgs with our phones anyway. So, like, I'm not trying to shake my hand at the cloud. It's like the saddle maker became defunct because the car.
The good ones got a job putting Corinthian leather into those Lincolns.
Exactly, right? So it's like adapt with the times. And it's just like I can't control how the world's going to evolve around me, but I can control how I adapt to the world. So
Amen.
There's no point in becoming a Luddite.
Swimming upstream, yeah.
Although it does sound a lot more appealing by the day to just like go off grid and herd rocks in the desert.
and at some point, that might not be an option. Which is weird.
Do it while you can.
Yeah, like you can't get off grid. Like even underwater grid, whatever.
Yeah.
Moon grid, anywhere in space grid, your mind grid, dream grid. They got you.
It's a big thing I'm exploring in this concept, but yeah. So that's my thoughts on AI. Is I think it's inevitable. I'm not crazy about what it's done for me specifically, but I think all of us are going to feel the heat from ways that people will try to automate things going forward.
Well, I like your pivot, and like you immediately like make it a story. That's sweet. So I got a question for you. I'll let Eric do it.
Do you have a question?
Pick a
or
question.
does
Big
what's his
Scythe.
face? Big Scythe.
On the voice of Scythe presently, but I can't do the Arnold as quite as well as you can. Alright. From short films to interactive media, your work spans films and narrative-driven games. How does your approach to storytelling change across these mediums?
That's a great question.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you, Saif. I believe in, as far as screenwriting goes, I believe that story should always come first. That's what, good characters and, compelling scenario, that's, what really drives audience engagement. When it comes to a interactive project, like a video game or, immersive theater, I think audience engagement takes a priority. You don't want the story to get in the way of letting the player or the interactee feel some agency in it. So with our game, we're taking a very gameplay first orientation. Story's still important, story is second, but the game has to be fun to play. And we don't want to make something that is so boring that you don't get to see the story.
It's a good distinction.
Yeah.
Great answer. I'm going to let you pick one of Cypher's questions.
All right. Shall I read for Cypher?
Yeah, please.
Go for it.
All right.
He's a brother, by the way.
Okay, here we go.
He's like, I don't know the voice.
With the rise of interactive storytelling, how do you see the role of a screenwriter evolving? So this is another interesting thing that comes up in gigs in the game industry. A lot of these studios, they're looking for Hollywood people, like screenwriters, to come in, and there was a big push for a while. I was talking to a lot of early, mid 23, basically right after we wrapped on Manifesting. There was a lot of big Chinese studios coming over to LA and setting up offices, and they kind of want to tap into the mainstream American Western market. And make some cinematic titles.
But they need someone who speaks the language.
No, not necessarily.
Not the literal English. I mean, the narrative, cultural language.
Yeah. They want someone who can localize their project. And I was getting a lot of these because I did a lot of localization, both as I mentioned, for Japanese publishers and video games, but also for a lot of Chinese products online and stuff. And I was working in the screenplay space, and it's kind of, how I was talking about 3D chess and doing one thing to get to another. A lot of the incentive, I would be just as happy working in games as I would be working in film. They're both big passions of mine. A screenwriting credit is something that gets me a lot closer to getting a video game gig, which I'll just say it's more stable in the game space. Right now, it's just as shitty as Hollywood. They're being impacted as much by these strikes and by AI and everything as anyone else. But
before that, games were almost eclipsing.
Yeah. It's certainly a bigger
by
industry.
Revenue, they're 10 times.
Yeah, it's certainly a bigger industry.
But they're hurting.
But they're hurting in their own way. You see a lot of layoffs across the board, and there's this talk now that Nintendo is even maybe considering putting off releasing their new console, which is supposed to come out in June, I think, because of these tariffs and everything. So we're going to see what happens with that. They've raised the price of a game on that to $90.
That would be what, a
$60 game. Well, I guess it's $70 is the new standard, but even a $20 jump is pretty insane.
At that price point, for sure.
I wonder what it's called. Did you game when you were a
Switch
kid the whole time?
Oh, I was a huge gamer. So I didn't have a lot of kids my age in my neighborhood growing up. So it was Legos and then video games for me. I learned how to read because of I had to learn how to read to play Pokemon, So that's, I guess, where the literary thing came into play as well. So
if we can do a real fast, in no order, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but whatever you shoot from the hip, top 3 video games.
Oh, fuck.
All time.
All time. Well, I'll stick to series because it started cherry picking. I grew up on Halo. That was like my bread and butter.
Absolutely.
Loved that. Just like as a thing to play with my friends, but also just like really great sci-fi, like fantasy, almost fantasy, like world building and this like very epic scale of it. I love the Resident Evil games. Those like for different reasons because like they've taken a lot of. You know, I don't.
Like,
I'm not scared by them. They're like corny as hell. And like I'm a lot more scared by games than I am by movies because it's like, oh, it's me, you know, getting killed. But I love those. And then, God, if I had to pick a third, it's almost too big of a thing. But here, I'll keep it quick. The first game I ever played on the PlayStation 2 was Ace Combat 4, which was like. This is just like my nostalgic pick. Just really cool game where you're flying like jets around and like blowing shit up. And
I like how the nostalgic pick is PlayStation 2. Not Atari.
Whereas you're talking about misprinted shit on the console front in the arcade.
Bar log, yeah.
I started on Super Nintendo, but I was so young that like I was just fucking around with the controller at that point. This like the PS2 was like the first generation of console where I would actually like beat the games
it
that
was
I
your
had.
time.
Yeah.
Well, did you have an older brother or sibling?
No, I didn't. Only kid, but
so you had to figure it out.
But my babysitter that's where I got my Super Nintendo from, and he was like pretty chill about showing me how to play games. But then I had to figure it all out on my own.
I mean, to the point of calling PS2 nostalgic. It's now been a much longer time, I don't know much, but it's been a longer time between the release of GTA Vice City and present day as between the release of Vice City and its own setting in the 80s.
It's crazy how long it takes to make games like this, of the scale of something like Grand Theft Auto. In that like we were supposed to get Grand Theft Auto 6 this year, and I think they pushed it back another year.
What do you think about the writing in that game?
Phenomenal.
It broke through a lot of...
I think Rockstar's writing is so hilarious. Just like in the...
shit on the radio?
The shit on the radio. The crazy things that like Cara Delevingne says on like as the DJ to like what pedestrians say. And also just the writing itself and like the stories are really good. I was playing during COVID. I was playing on PS2 their old The Warriors game,
based off the movie.
Yeah, you know, come out and play. You know, and some of like the like lines from like the poor saps that you're just like terrorizing in this neighborhood is like somebody's like, oh, my whole business, you know, it's just like and you're just like smacking them with like a beer bottle.
Love it. One more question.
What's up?
Advice for aspiring writers. What would you recommend to writers looking to break into both film and game industries? It's pretty broad, but...
Well, I think it's the same strategy in either case, and I wish it's something they taught me in school. It's just like, start with an idea that you can do on your own, that you don't need anyone else to do. And, hey, if you can enroll someone in your vision and bring them on board your project, then it's even better for it. But, like...
Keep it simple.
Keep it as simple as possible, and then don't like give in to the inner critic or anything. Just like fucking write that shit, make it, and like get it done, because action, you know, counts more than anything.
I like it.
Yeah, no one ever got to success by telling the story. It goes, I started doing something, everything worked out.
The end. Just standing.
All right, I'm picking any from these numbers here.
Yeah, at the end. It's a new segment.
Oh, okay, let's see what we got here. New interactive segment, Logline Throwdown. Let's keep the energy high with a fun segment where you pitch quirky loglines to Ed, and he has to decide.
Yes.
Green light or pass. Would he develop this idea? Punch up. Would he tweak it? How would he tweak it to make it work? Here are some loglines to get you started. A barista discovers that the latte art they create predicts the future, but only for cats.
Oh, fuck yeah. That's a green light for me, because then you're shooting it in a cat cafe and...
all day.
You know how fun that would be to be on set? You know, you could have someone be the cat wrangler. That'd be me.
Love it. So
To realize
you like cats.
at that there was not a beat that passed before he realized, oh, the setting where they would figure out how that superpower works is that. Props, bro.
You're already writing. Yeah,
Wow.
he's already got it going.
Careful, I might steal some of these.
Syfe doesn't care. It's all good. Let's see.
These are open source concepts.
Yeah. I'm going to stick on that theme. A retired superhero opens a bakery, but their pastries give customers temporary superpowers.
That's a maybe for me. I'm so like...
Maybe's not an option, bro. So you're passing.
I'm passing on me. I'm passing. Enough superhero content.
Yeah, I hear that. Okay, there's a certain similarity that I'm seeing with you.
Come on, Syfe. What the fuck? Last one.
During a global blackout, a teenager's mixtape becomes the only form of communication between continents.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a thumbs up for me, you know. You could bring in like, you know, splicing into the mixtape, you know, like, you know, bring on like a new artist every continent, you know, or come on, you know, continent. Probably not going to Antarctica, but you know, you can get a lot out of that.
That'll be the
concept.
sequel.
I love movies about. I don't like musician biopics specifically, but I like movies about like artists and music and people who are just kind of like vibing in their creative space. And it's kind of an excuse. Sometimes, hey, I think story is like super important, but sometimes a movie can get by just on vibes. I rewatched Dazed and Confused the other day.
All right.
What the hell happens in that movie? I don't know, but like it's cool. Like these guys are just like vibing, and
I have a painting in the other room called Party at the Moon Tower.
Nice.
Because that's how much I like that movie.
It's
It
a
reminded
sick
me
one.
of the shit we didn't used to do. Exactly the same. Like, let's just drive over there. And, you know, you could be the coolest kids in the whole high school just for like, oh, they're driving over there. You know, it's like very simple, but you can quote like 100 lines from that movie.
Now we're talking about Dazed and Confused. You know what I loved about that on my rewatch is like the nerds in this movie. Like
I want to dance.
Yeah, like what do? They like play poker. Like I don't know. Like that's cool. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
by the time I was in high school, if there was a gang of kids that were playing poker every week, I'd be like, those are some
like those
cool
are the
fuckers.
nerds. Those are like the like unfuckable losers at this high school. Like
Nobody's unfuckable.
Yeah, no one's like. But that's how they paint themselves in this
see.
movie, you know. And I'm like, God, you guys are like cool. Like I wish I was playing poker in high school instead of.
What were you playing?
What was I? I was playing video games, and I was doing memes on Facebook, which was the wrong platform. I should have been a Twitter kid, but I wasn't.
Unfuckable.
We live.
Truly.
This is one not from Cypher, but from me. Did you hear the new pyramid stuff?
New pyramid stuff.
Yeah, with the
New stuff about the pyramids.
Yeah, the structures, like redefining like the whole history of the pyramids.
Oh, so, dude, I was just talking about this the other day. I got really into younger dryas theory over COVID, and I've got this book that I haven't cracked open. I watched like a 2-hour podcast on it. But I was talking about the other day. It was called the Giza Power Plant, and how these things were constructed. Like better than with like hand tools, better than like what modern like masons can like,
or maybe not hand tools,
or maybe not.
That's the whole debate.
Yeah, were they using like sonic, you know, bullshit? Like, yeah, I'm all into this, and I think
seems like a blank slate to write a story.
I think that it's very feasible that we are just living in like a loop, you know, and every time we reach like a certain technological threshold, AI just like hits the reset button on us. And,
dumbass.
Yeah. Back to the pyramids for you.
Awesome.
I'm all for it. I'm very open-minded when it comes to who am I to say what happens before history was written.
Yeah, I mean, just written. I mean, so you're a writer, but like back in the day before writing, shit was still happening.
I went to
whether the dinosaurs right, you know.
I went to London in 2021, right before I shot this. You know, I came home, took mushrooms, and shot this pilot. But
sounds like a plan.
I was at the British Museum, and I'm learning all about like all this Egyptian shit they stole, you know, and it fascinated me that in ancient Egypt, ancient Egyptology was a thing. Like the Egyptian civilization was so vast and it spanned that like they forgot what the hell happened when they started out. And it was hard to keep track because they would carve over all these like obelisks and stuff like, and they would re-chisel the faces of statues with like new pharaohs. So like they're literally like revising their own history as they go. And that shows how history is a very fickle. Yeah. Like it's always changing the story. So
they said that, we're closer to Cleopatra than she was to the beginning of the Egyptian civilization.
exactly.
Yeah, she was closer to the moon landing than the building of the pyramids.
And now that pyramid thing is like, they're saying that they didn't even know. So, but they built it to where you can't chisel over it because it's like 2 miles deep. Have you seen the image?
No.
All right, I'm going to show you.
Oh, they got some wild renderings.
Start rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
While I'm waiting.
All right, I always start out, but per tradition, Pepsi or Coke?
So I'm off the soda now, but I was a Pepsi guy.
All right. We haven't had one of those in a while. Maybe ever in the pod.
I'm a big Pepsi aesthetic hoe. I have a pair of like Pepsi like round rimmed blue frame or shades, you know.
Yeah, with the ball.
Yeah, I'm like I'm into Pepsi Man.
Well, they're always young. They're always adapting themselves.
Yeah, I guess, but
they want us to think that.
I think it's all shit. But
side quest. Yeah. Pepsi back in the day, I don't know when it was. I was probably like 11 or 10. You had to find Pepsi cans, and if you looked in the bottom, it was like a co-branding with Burger King. If it said BK at the bottom, you get a free Whopper.
Oh,
and we collected that shit all summer long. Dude, we had a stack this high, free Whoppers every day. And we were little kids, like on bikes, but we figured we'd crack the code. We go to the pool hall where the dudes bought Pepsi all the time. And we asked the guy, hey, can we take the Pepsi cans? And he thought we were recycling. And we just like, no.
Get them out of here, kids.
Yeah. And then we cracked the code, dude. Like, so we beat the Pepsi Burger King monster. Because also, too, like, a lot of those cans got undiscovered.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. It did make me want to buy more Pepsi, though.
Makes me want to buy
the closest thing I got. I collected Dum Dum wrappers because you would mail those in for like $25 and they'd give you like a pencil sharpener or some bullshit. That was my racket, you know.
So Dazed and Confused. Let's see. Would you go like Ben Affleck or Matthew McConaughey's character?
Oh well, Ben Affleck's character is a tool, so
some people warm up to that.
Yeah, you know, I'm all.
You hear this little motherfucker's mom pulled a shotgun on me?
It's so cool to think that Matthew McConaughey's like first line on camera as an actor is like, "You bring a joint? No, it'd be a lot cooler if you did." And I'm like, "True."
Set the course for the rest of his career.
Nah, man, not on me. Let's see. You're up.
I'm up. Okay.
Rapid fire.
You already.
It's slow fire.
You're the one who has to fire rapid. I can load the gun as slow as I want.
Okay. Make me await my execution.
All right, two-parter that is about feature films versus television. You know, you already said a minute ago you like television more, but was that as a viewer?
As a writer specifically. But like, hey, there's like great movies and there's great shows.
Sure.
A movie's a smaller commitment, so I've watched my favorite movies more than I've watched my favorite shows. But yeah, what is that? The rapid fire?
No, that's more of the lead up. So, since you're talking about it on the producing end, I'll go, and this is definitely a title specific, but you're a very well versed guy. Succession, the TV show, or The Menu, the one with the restaurant?
Ooh, that's interesting. I'm not a great fan of either. Sorry, guys.
Oh, okay. Which one sucks less?
Well, I finished The Menu. I've watched the pilot for Succession twice, and maybe it's just that I don't fuck at all with the like New York finance world of story. Maybe that's the stumbling point. It's like weird because it's like I love Kieran Culkin and that's it. But yeah, no, it like I'm a big early Adam McKay guy. I love like Step Brothers and stuff. But yeah, just I never got into the Succession train. The Menu also wasn't crazy about, but I love Ralph Fiennes. I think he should have won the Oscar this year, if I'm being serious. You know, I love Conclave. And I love Nicky Holt. He had a great year too in film. So, and Anya Taylor-Joy. And some other people I'm blanking. So yeah, I would just have to say The Menu by merit that I actually watched it.
That is
I wish I had a more interesting answer for you guys.
I think that's honestly that was so much more interesting than just being like, oh, this one.
All right, Tarantino. Which side of the argument are you on? Foot massage tell me nothing, or I'll give my mother a foot massage.
A foot massage definitely means something, but you know, I guess that really comes down to technique. I don't think this is a happy ending foot massage we're talking about here. So,
so Vincent or Jules?
I'm definitely on. I believe it was Jules who was on the side of. No, let me recall this conversation.
Would you give me a foot massage?
Make me an offer.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, here we are. We're looking at the pyramids, guys.
Oh, we're looking at so much.
Oh, and there's wow.
So that's like new shit.
Can we like zoom in on this?
It's
like
wild as hell, bro.
Well, we can throw it on the screen.
There's helical structures, or
they're like 2 kilometers deep.
Digging deep. What's this based off of?
Technology.
Some kind of satellite sonar imaging that you can look into it.
I mean, I've smoked some technology and had visions like that. So
perfect.
I think the guys that produced this study also did, but it's worth at least checking out for 2 or 3 Google searches worth of
younger, driest theory. Those three words.
Yeah,
Look
it's
that
like
up.
Graham Hancock and the other homie. Yeah, I'm with it. And that was around that time. So what they did is the theory is they tried to build it to where it would survive all the like recarvings and you know, whoever wins the war gets to tell the history. The shit is so ridiculous that we're just now discovering it, and we still have zero idea how they built it, you know, or what it did or was for. And then there's also these gatekeeper cock blockers who are like, nope, it was just a tomb, that's it, don't ask any more questions.
What are they hiding?
Well, I mean, the numbers are crazy. Like it's like the same speed of light. It goes on and on. There's too many coincidences. It's wild. But for a writer, it'd be really good. Better than like Mummy, probably. You know, I think you could do better.
I fuck with the Mummy.
Oh, okay.
Big Mummy fan. Big Brendan Fraser.
I'm
fans.
a big Brendan Fraser
words.
guy.
I mean, that's like what was it, Ice Age, or was it? What like
starring him or what?
Yeah. It was.
Encino Man.
Yeah. See,
oh yeah.
I get down with Brendan Fraser. Yeah, that shit was fire.
Pauly Shore.
Yeah. The Weasel. Yeah, I'm down. So I think we're at the end of Rapid Fire. Ed, it's been real. We wish you well on all of your games, and I can't wait. We could have the premiere here. I'll offer it. We could be your Orange County like second premiere.
Dude, fuck yeah.
And we've done it before. We've done
a lot of movie nights here.
Yeah, red carpet, step and repeat.
Yeah, we want to do like as many of them as possible. Like, I'm of the theory now. Like, it was my birthday last month. I'm like,
Happy
know
birthday.
what? Hey, thank you, but you missed the mark by like a month. So I won't
fuck
take
off.
it too personally.
I don't know. My birthday's in like 2 months.
But I'm all for.
But he's gonna do it
happy
next year,
birthday,
and that's its own story.
I'm getting in early.
It's all good. Go for it.
I'm just like, hey, like, I'll just like tell my network piecemeal it's my birthday. I'll like milk 3 parties out of that sucker.
Smart, yeah. So South County premiere. Yeah,
There we go.
You. Are you down? We'll do it.
I'm a fuck yes.
Yeah.
On that.
Sweet. Well, with that, Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you
For
having
my
me.
co-host Eric and our guest, your homie.
Mr. Ed Dutra, thank you very much, bro. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, guys. Next time.